Hello and welcome to Breezy Chatter. Today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 4, Wedding Nights, Brunches, and Bus Fights. Because there was a lot of repetition and a lot of filler, we're going to keep this short and sweet. So we're going to talk briefly about the brunches, and then we're going to talk about the bus incident, and we're going to elaborate on that with the after party, and that's going to be that. So let's start with the brunches. I'm just going to talk about the interesting things that happened. Mike met with Jasmina's mother and her sisters. Jasmina's mom found out that Mike has had no visual idea of what a successful marriage is. He's been raised predominantly by his sisters, his mom, his grandma. He has not seen firsthand what a successful marriage looks like, but he has an idea of what it should be. So Jasmina's mom sees that as a red flag because she feels that if you haven't seen it, all you have are expectations in your mind, and they may not be realistic. And she makes a great point. And Mike is fully aware that Jasmina's mom is terrified of the situation that Jasmina is in, and Mike said he's going to do his best to prove himself to Jasmina's family. And then we have Jasmina. She met with Mike's sisters, and she did let them know that she's only dated men on a long distance level, which is a red flag because how do you transition from dating someone long distance most of the time, which means you don't spend a lot of time with them, to marrying someone and living with them day in and day out? That's going to be quite a transition for the two of them. Should be interesting. Also, Mike's sisters told Jasmina that Mike is a glass half empty kind of guy. He goes into things without much expectations because he doesn't want to get his hopes up. Sounds like a defense mechanism to me. That didn't sit well with Jasmina. What else interesting happened? So we have Elijahwan meeting with Katina's friends. One of her friends feels like Elijahwan is just on the show to blow up and that he's not really in this with Katina's best interest at heart. He did not like when Elijahwan said that he was trying something new, and Katina's friend jumped all over that, and he said, well, this is for life, this is permanent, this is not something you're trying. So that did not sit well with him, and Elijahwan was getting quite annoyed with Katina's friend, and he told him, if you think I'm BSing, just call me out, quit it. I think he was over the conversation. And he sort of just shut it down by saying, if you think I'm BSing, tell me. And he told Katina about it also, and he let her know that he really doesn't care if that guy accepts him or not. He's not there to win his favor. And that's that. And then, of course, Mark met with Lindsay's family, and they've been telling him the same things over and over again. You're going to have to rein her in. She has a sharp tongue. She has no filter. You got to be careful. You need to have her back. They gave him a button, a no button. So he presses the button, and it says no 1,000 times. And Lindsay needs to have boundaries, so she needs to learn the word no. And Mark was very appreciative of the information. I hope that he's seeing these tips as a red flag because it's a huge one. What else? Oh, and then we have Noyce Family. They were getting on Steve because Steve doesn't have a job. And Steve really didn't have any good answers for her family. They did ask him about financial responsibility and children and how's he going to be able to provide. And Steve gave these generalized answers. And Noyce's brother Mike, he was on him. So he did ask, what are you going to do? How are you going to become financially responsible for your future children? And Steve gave some blanket generalized answer. He said, well, people have their own ideas of what they want to do. And Mike said, well, what do you want to do? And Steve never answered. And what's more, when Noy met with Steve's father said that he's a vagabond and he likes to travel from place to place. And that is a red flag. And the reluctance for Steve to answer about financial responsibility and getting a job is a super red flag. So that union is not going to work. As cute as they look and as nice as Steve seems to be, he doesn't seem like he wants to get a job. He's saying that freelance may be good right now because everything's kind of crazy, and then he'll figure out down the line, after he has conversations, he'll figure out if he should in fact get a stable job. So even right now, in the moment after they're married, he's telling her family that, a stable job still may not be the right answer for them. And of course, we have Alyssa and Chris. They're not doing well. Alyssa met with Chris's family. She had absolutely nothing to say about them. It was quite awkward. Poor Chris's mom said she thought it was a good union. Alyssa said nothing. And then Chris met with Alyssa's family, and he told them exactly what she said to him, and she got upset about that. She felt like he betrayed her. He wasn't being respectful of her wishes because he let them know what was going on with them. And Chris sort of said, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to lie to them? So she's being unreasonable. She really wants absolutely nothing to do with him. And she should just go ahead and say that, pack up and leave, because she's wasting people's time. She's wasting Chris's time and she's wasting our time. We don't want to see her because we already know what this is all about. He's not a good look for her, so she should pack up and go. And I think that sort of sums up the brunches. Let's get into the bus incident really quickly. So it looks like, based on the after party information and what we saw on the show, Lindsay sort of targeted Olajuwon. I don't know why. Olajuwon said that Lindsay approached him and she told him that he looks fly, but his slippers are cheap. Olajuwon ignored her because he said she doesn't know him from a hole in a wall, and she's coming up to him, insulting him. He tried his best to ignore her. Olajuwon did say that he feels that Lindsay got caught up in the cameras, and she tried to tell him what type of language he should speak while they were in Puerto Rico, because that's where all the couples went for their honeymoon. They went to San Juan. And Mark even said that the situation was awkward because when they were on the plane, she kept poking, and he didn't understand why she was continuing to challenge Olajuwon while they were on the plane. And Mark and Lindsay were sitting right behind Katina and Olajuwon. And even Alyssa said that Olajuwon handled the situation well. Lindsay's one of those people that you have to ignore, and then eventually she'll stop. But unfortunately, because they were on a plane, there was nowhere to go, and she was right behind them, so it's kind of hard to ignore someone who's constantly begging for attention. And Olajuwon said that she said she wanted to fight him, and that's when Katina got into it, and she said to Lindsay, "Who are you talking about fighting?" And she had to put Lindsay in her place, and even Olajuwon put her in her place and told her, leave me alone. Focus on your husband. I'm here trying to focus on my wife. And when everyone got off of the plane, there was a shuttle bus to take them to the hotel. And Mark and Lindsay had to get into a separate bus to sort of de-escalate what was going on, from the plane to getting off the plane to being in the airport. And Katina seemed like she was really upset, and she didn't seem to want to let it go. And Lindsay, who started the whole situation and created all of this chaos, is in the hotel room playing the victim. And she's so glad that Mark was there for her and he had her back. And Mark, he's caught in the middle. And I'm sure he's thinking about all the things that Lindsay's father warned him about, and how she is a troublesome person, how she is a troublemaker, and how he's going to have to be pretty much putting out fires everywhere that they go. And Mark did a stellar job putting out this fire. He went to everyone and he apologized on Lindsay's behalf. He did ask Olajuwon if an apology from Lindsay was necessary. And Olajuwon was trying to be cool about the whole thing. He said, no, it's fine. We can all move past this. And Katina said, she's a bit much for me. I can keep it cute and cordial, but only for a short period of time, because she's way too much. So she's going to feed Lindsay with a long-handled spoon. And then Olajuwon does talk to Katina, and he tells her that he would like for them to have a good time and not make this about Lindsay. It should be about them. And he also said that he's looking forward to breaking down her walls. And that sort of struck a nerve with Katina, because she knows that she has a wall up, but I think she thought that she was doing a good job of hiding it. But no, Olajuwon picked up on it right away, And he said he feels like there's just a little something she's holding back from him. And I think the two of them are cut from the same cloth, and they're going to get along until they don't. And then we have Alyssa and Chris. They're talking, and Alyssa is trying to pretend that she wants to work on things. She wants to take things slowly, and that she's not comfortable sleeping in a room with a man that she doesn't know. And Chris, he had to laugh because he thought that was just totally ridiculous. You signed up for a show to be married to a stranger, and then you're going to say you're not comfortable staying in a room with them? You know, Alyssa, she's just looking for any little thing to use against Chris. So she did ask Chris if he thought she was a liar. And he said yes. He told the truth. And she got upset about that. And she walked out of the area where they were talking. It looks like they were on a balcony. And she goes and sits in the room with a hat covering her face because she doesn't want to be seen. So it's like, lady, if you have to put a hat over your face because you don't want the cameras on you, why don't you go pack up and go back home? That's what you need to do. Then you won't have to worry about the cameras on you. You can be free to do whatever it is that you really want to do because you're doing nothing at this point but wasting Chris's time. And even on the after show, when Keisha Knight Pulliam was calling her to the carpet and really asking her some real questions like, why did you come on the show? And why didn't you explain to Chris that you were worried about what his friends said about him being condescending and talking down to people, and that you were in a relationship like that in the past, and it sort of struck a nerve or triggered you when his friends said that? Why didn't you explain that to Chris so that he could have some context or sort of understand why you were behaving the way you're behaving? And she couldn't handle those questions, so she got up and walked away. And Elijah put it best. He said he feels like the stuff that she's saying is nothing but BS. She's not attracted to him and his corny friends, because yes, his friends are corny. Whether he's condescending or not, if you don't have anything nice to say about your friend, don't say anything. Let her find out how he is. The man was nothing but nice to her the whole time on the show, and they sort of took away his chance to put his best foot forward and be the best person that he could be by telling her all these things. Oh, he's condescending. Oh, he's a real estate agent. He's not going to have time for you. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And he hasn't done anything to sort of support the negative things that his friends were saying, but she's jumping all over it because she's not attracted to him and she doesn't want to be anywhere near him. And she couldn't handle it, so she got up and she left. And Elijah put it best. She wasn't attracted to him. The corny friends came and they made it real easy for her to excuse herself from the marriage or to excuse herself from him. This episode, although it was filled with filler, we did get to learn a little bit more about the couples. Looking forward to finding out what happens this Wednesday. So that is my commentary. If you liked it, hit like, subscribe, and leave comments. Thank you for your time. Until next time. Ta-ta.